Hi, good morning, everybody. This is Mr. Rader here. This is a lesson for College Now Sociology. And today we're going to begin our fourth unit on criminology and thinking about the sociology of crime. And we're going to begin today by looking at the theories that underpin many criminal behavior. So we want to consider how criminologists attempt to explain why people commit crimes. So for the opening question, one of the things I wanted you to begin thinking about if we were in regular class, we would have a discussion on this. Just thinking about basic motivations. Why do people engage in certain types of behaviors? So for this opening question, what do you suppose motivates a teenager to steal music from the internet? It might be downloading the song illegally from YouTube or using a file sharing software. And the question becomes, well, what is the motivation? Some of the most simple answers is it's a rational choice. The individual realizes that there are little to no consequences and that it's very unlikely for authority figures to crack down on this form of illegal behavior. And usually it's the people who upload pirated digital content into the larger sphere that actually get prosecuted and punished for these things. So when we think about criminology, there's three major theories that you need to be aware of. These will be tested on the final exam, especially when we look at the relationship between crime and deterrence theory, trying to prevent crimes from happening. So when we think of the first one, it's rational choice, and it explains why people are more likely, for example, to commit a mugging or a robbery in a dark alley than a well-lit restaurant. The lighting does act as a deterrent because there's more of a risk in terms of being prosecuted for that behavior. By contrast, string theory, this looks at the role of societal structures in influencing criminal behavior. And the third major theory that we'll examine as part of this course is the subcultural theory, made famous by the Chicago School. And that basically looks specifically at gang behavior and thinking about gangs in terms of community, a sense of belonging, and thinking about in terms of larger breakdown of societal structures. You'll read about all these momentarily. When we think about criminology, if we look at symbolic interactionism as one of the three major perspectives of sociology, there is a differentiation between deviant type behavior. So, sociologist Edwin Lemert distinguishing what he calls primary and secondary deviance. And when we look at the primary examples, this is an act that provokes very little reaction and it does not affect a person's self-esteem. The deviant's not going to change his or her behavior as a result of this act. By contrast, secondary deviance includes a repeated deviant behavior that's brought on by other people's negative reactions. So, for example, take a teenager at 15, 16 years old. One of their friends starts smoking cigarettes. They think it's cool, so they start smoking cigarettes. That would be a form of self-destructive deviant behavior. If we think about the United States as a whole, around 10% of the population still smokes, which is problematic, but it is a relatively small percentage. So therefore, people who smoke cigarettes, their behavior will be considered deviant. It breaks some of the rules, especially if you're under the age of 19. You can't purchase tobacco products legally. So smoking as a teenager will be considered deviant behavior. When we think about the secondary deviant behavior, in many forms, it's a form of rebellion. A person is made to feel bad for engaging in that behavior, so they continue to engage in that behavior. So when you're going to look at essentially the three major theories, brief summary, what I want you to do is annotate it for important information. If you can, try to think of examples of basic crimes, both misdemeanors or felonies, that would fit into these characterizations. So this is the reading that you'll see for rational choice. As you can see, it's relatively short and it kind of breaks down what that theory is about. And again, as an organizer, kind of think about it. What is it? Examples. And then I'm going to give you two crime scenarios, and I want you to consider the three theories, consider why the crimes are being committed. So here's crime one. So this is looking at an individual selling fentanyl, which is a synthetic opioid, on a street corner in a public housing project. How do we explain it? Why is it happening? What are some of the theories? The second crime is a college student who's caught driving drunk with four friends who are 21. This individual's 19. They claim to be sober. Their blood alcohol level is 0.075. By law in the state of New York, if you're over 21 and your blood alcohol content is above 0.08, you can be arrested for DWI, driving while intoxicated. And if it's between 0.05 and 0.08, it's considered DWAI, driving while ability impaired. However, if you're under 21, there is a thing in New York State called ZT, or zero tolerance law. Any alcohol in the body is considered illegal. And then, in terms of the summary, thinking about how criminologists attempt to explain crime and thinking about why it's necessary to do so. And we'll talk a lot more about that when we look at deterrence theory and we look at the mass incarceration system that exists within the United States, and really understanding like why it happens, how laws are codified, and how sentencing guidelines come about when we look at the role of prosecutors, public defenders, and plea bargains. That'll do it for today. Please make sure that as you finish watching this, you respond to the opening question in your Google Doc about this mini lecture. All right, everybody, have a nice day.